You will wear your wedding rings at all times. You will not air your unhappiness in front of you. You will not discuss your marital problems with anyone unless you ask my permission. All questions I ask you. If you do not answer within 30 seconds, do not be a bitch and a know-it-all. You will not scream or wake the neighbors. You will not call the police. If I ask you what's wrong and your answer would break one of these rules, smile and say, nothing. If I say, are you sure? Say, yes, dear.
My name is Chada Alfaro, and I'm the Executive Director for Support Network for Battered Women. What we did a couple of years ago, we started to put together stories, real stories from our victims, and asked their permission to publish them because they were so touching. And in one particular story, there's a picture of a husband and wife, and this is when they were married. And when they were dating, they were just fine. There was no problems. And on the day that they got married, he handed her a list of about 20 rules. And the rules were such that you will not disagree with me. You will not disagree with me in public. If you insult me in any way, you will be chastised for it. But it was all written down, and these were the rules that he wanted her to follow, and he wanted her to sign it.
No one should have to live in fear. But according to statistics, approximately 1.5 million women and 834,000 men are victims of domestic abuse every year in the United States. The Silicon Valley is no exception to this statistic. So how is domestic violence defined?
Domestic violence is when one person in an intimate relationship believes that they have the right to have power and control over another person.
Actually, it's very interesting that domestic violence was not even considered an offense against women up until in the 70s. And before that, it was considered that it was between a husband and wife, and whatever transpired was nobody else's business.
Over time, abuse, be it emotional, verbal, psychological, or financial, becomes more frequent and more severe. No form of abuse is any less damaging than another. One woman whose privacy we must protect was brave enough to tell us her story. Like most cases, the abuse was not present in the beginning of her relationship, nor was it ever really obvious to those around her. The abuse was hidden.
My family never knew anything about our problems because I never wanted to mention anything, because they even really liked them, because in front of them everything was fine, you know. But basically behind walls, it's like, you know, we would mention and bring up and everything. So it was pretty hard. I thought maybe they would be able to notice, you know, maybe by little reactions that the way I would act, or sometimes we would have get-togethers and I was emotional and I was like, maybe they're gonna just wonder why.
Eventually, her husband's behaviors would change, and over time they would become more severe. Slowly but surely, they fell into a pattern. This pattern is referred to as the cycle of violence.
The cycle of violence is something that has been proven. And what you see in a cycle of violence, for example, is you will see a couple, whatever that looks like, and they will be getting along, and everything seems fine. And then all of a sudden, there's a little tension that starts to build up. And in that little bit of tension, then all of a sudden you start noticing that you start restricting some of the words you might say. The tension builds up and the anxiety builds up. And then, boom, there's an incident. And then the abuser comes and says, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry I hurt you. Forgive me. I was too tired. I've too many hours. I've got too many things on my mind. The makeup part is great. Everybody loves the makeup part. He or she does whatever they can to make amends in the relationship. And so then they go on, and then you call that the honeymoon period. And then the honeymoon period's over and things are back on track again. And then slowly but surely we go back and the cycle starts again.
Little times here and there, it was like a little honeymoon, but then times it's like abusive in every way, mentally, emotionally, physically. There was no solution sometimes, as much as I tried not to say anything and just try to respect him and get along. Probably figured, well, she's still here, she's taking it, she doesn't do anything about it, will never report it. Probably kept on doing it more and more and thinking, well, she's not doing anything about it. He just had me very in control, and things got worse, and I thought he would change, but it wouldn't stop. He would say, I'm sorry, and it was like a little honeymoon cycle.
So how can we end this vicious cycle? First and foremost, domestic violence must be recognized not as a problem at the home or any individual family's problem, but as a community problem. Domestic violence is everybody's problem, and it is everybody's responsibility to do something about it.
Some people don't like to get involved when they hear the next door neighbor yelling or screaming, and you know there's something going on, but you just don't want to be the one placing the 911 call. We need more involvement. Like I said, it's something that we need to work together. It's a community problem. It's not just the police. It's got to be a community involvement.
The consequences of domestic abuse are disastrous. Children pick up these bad behaviors and carry them with them over their adult lives. They repeat what they have seen, and they see no fault in it. And the sad story of a victim left unhelped is almost too predictable. Victims of domestic violence often end up in the hospital or in the cemetery.
When I was pregnant with my 4th child, that's when he threatened me with a gun, and I was like 7 to 8 months pregnant. Put it up to my neck, and then I thought, okay, well, what is he gonna do? Is he just like threaten me, or is he really gonna do something? I mean, he said he was just trying to scare me, but he wasn't gonna do anything. I told him that's just not a way you have threatened, and in front of your kids. I couldn't take that no more.
Our victim was able to get out of her situation before her abuse reached a fatal level. She reached out to her family, and she reached out to the support network. Many women and children are not that fortunate. The support network is here to help.
The first sort of leg into the support network is through the crisis line. So we have a 24-hour hotline where somebody can talk to a trained counselor in English or Spanish 24 hours a day. And I think the starting point is when someone who's living with domestic violence or has recently lived with it picks up the phone and says, can you help me? We have a lot of programs here. As I said, the first step is the crisis line. People can talk on the phone as many times as they want to. We encourage them to make appointments and come in and talk to crisis counselors. That's free. Once they get in here, then we're able to talk to them about what options they may have, to do safety planning with them, to provide them with some education about what they're going through. So we have a crisis program, we have legal advocates, we have folks that work with the police, we have a La Familia program that focuses on the Latina community, we have the teen program, we have therapy services, we have children's services, almost everything that a person might need, or if we can't do it here, we have resources to give.
Help the support network end the cycle of violence. Volunteer or make a donation. Treat others with respect. Be aware of your loved ones. And don't be afraid to get involved. If you suspect any form of domestic abuse, report it immediately. You could be saving someone's life. Your friend, your neighbor, your mother, your sister, or yourself.